Hello, everybody. How we doing today? Week 3 is upon us. All kinds of excitement. Hello, everybody. Hello, Steven. Appreciate you. I'll get to the questions here momentarily. Hey, Kevin. Thanks for making it, man. Hi, Max. Will, I'll get to the questions again in one moment. Let's kind of give people a chance to show up. All 7 of you. Appreciate everyone coming here every Saturday. My Ask Me Anything live stream. You can also catch me Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Doing a similar thing right now, but we're going to morph that into a little more exotic thing. Catch the DFS hour Saturday nights at 9 p.m. on the same channel here, the Football Diehards YouTube channel. Jamie Calandro is off tonight. Eric Romoff will be there. Maybe Emil Cadlick will join him. So we've always got something going here. Early in the week, we've got Evan Tarciano with his waiver wire wizard picks and getting you set up for the week. So before I jump into the questions, just, let's find out what we need to know real quickly. Justin Herbert, very questionable, it seems to me. I'm in a number of lineups. My Scott Fishbowl opponent is eagerly rubbing his hands together, hoping I have to go with Jameis Winston. Lamar Jackson all set to go. J.K. Dobbins, still a mystery. Josh Jacobs, a mystery. Did not get on the plane with his teammates yesterday. He's got an illness. We'll see if he flies today. If not, you should be grabbing Zamir White if you can. The Saints are dealing with injuries to Jameis Winston and Alvin Kamara. Seems likely they'll both play. Kamara missed last week's game. Jameis a little off schedule on his throws, especially his deep throws to Chris Olave, but interesting the targets that went Olave's way. James Conner seems like he's going to go. There will be no Rondale Moore. So some of the injury issues we're looking at this week that are of interest to you. DeAndre Swift, questionable. He's going to play. TJ Hawkinson as well. So watch out for those guys. And we'll get the ball rolling here. I am Bob Harris, in case you didn't know. Senior editor at footballdiehards.com. It's a website. You should go to it if you don't already. If you want to buy something there, use the promo code Diehards to get 15% off, whatever it is. Most likely that'll be our flash update service. Includes all the tools, and including my fantasy GM that lets you manage your teams over various platforms. So get in on some of that. You probably hear me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Tonight on SiriusXM NFL Radio as well. We're simulcast 3 hours every Saturday night. And again, I'm here every Saturday afternoon for your chit-chat pleasure. So let's dive into the questions. I see you all are here. Let me scratch my eyes and make sure I can see them. All right, Steven wants to know a defense question, Steven, to start the day. Hi, Steven. So I tend to pick on quarterbacks, especially if you have some good playmaking assets. I'm probably going to go, look, they both seem like ripe pickings, right? I'm tempted to go with the Bengals, but my gut is the Chiefs. Can Joe Flacco keep his role going? I don't think so. Can Matt Ryan get better? Also, I don't think so. So two really solid options there. I'm probably going to lean Chiefs. Scott Hedge would like to know in a 0.5 PPR, Lamb, Brandon Cooks. Okay, so here's a couple things here to make this easier for me. And this is not a problem with yours, Scott, but give me an initial with the last name or the last name. If you can, put in who they're playing. It just makes me process the information faster and I can get to more questions. And also, if you're asking me to choose two, Lamb, Cooks, Brown, Samuel, so is that Debo? Is it Curtis? I mean, there's two Samuels right now. I'm guessing by the order you listed them in is Curtis. Help me out there. Choose one of these. So, man, that must be a loaded roster you have if I'm choosing one of these for wide receiver 2. And you very well could have one of the top receivers there. So I'm going to probably go with Lamb. And, I probably like him about in the order you have them, assuming that is Curtis Samuel. Is it too soon to drop James Cook? Not if you need room on your roster. He's going to be a bit of a process. By the end of the season, you may regret it. But if you're trying to win right now and you don't have the roster room, he's not doing much. Will Power, one lineup question. Who do you prefer to flex half-point PPR? I'm going to go with Marquise Brown, Elijah Moore, Ramondre Stevenson. I'm going with Brown. By the way, I chatted with Emil yesterday. You betcha. Glad to hear that, Will. I would probably go with you as well. Marquise Brown for me. What's supposed to be a shootout game, right? High implied total. And I expect it will be a pretty high total. The Rams and the Cardinals. Iron Eddie. Hello, Iron Eddie. Glad to see you here. Full point PPR need 2. Damian Pierce, Rashad Penny, and Aguilar. I'm going to play the running backs. I'm hoping that we see a little more concerted effort to run the ball by the Seattle Seahawks. I know they're talking about letting Geno cook. I don't know how much Pete Carroll is going to let anyone cook. And maybe they'll just, by letting him cook, throw deeper. I think they need to run the ball more. We saw it last week. By the way, Travis Homer kind of diluted the carries, but we saw like I want to say a 6-4 split of the 10 carries between Penny and Walker. So even if it's 50-50, I'd take my chances there. Like Aguilar's kind of a swing for the fence play. He's going to have big games. I don't know that he's going to have them every week. That said, if he's going to have one, maybe it's this week against Baltimore, right? Their secondary not in really good shape. So I'm still playing the running backs here and hoping for the best. I see that, Will. Thank you. So hoping for the best there. Again, Dameon Pierce seems like he's getting the volume now, right? And so it's a small sample size. We're just trending in a certain direction. Week 1, it was Rex Burkhead heavy with a small dose of Dameon Pierce. Week 2, it was a heavier dose of Pierce. And by the way, to his credit, averaged I want to say 4.6 yards per carry, which is like 1.2 yards more than last year's season carry average per carry average for the entire team. So, and well ahead of what it was week 1. And against the Bears seems like a pretty reasonable play. Lovie Smith revenge game. Love it. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Julie Klein. Hi, Julie. Standard League. I can play one. Mark Andrews or Curtis Samuel. Damn. I feel like game time is Ronnie Stanley downgraded out for the game for the Baltimore Ravens to make sure they didn't do anything else. He didn't make the trip to New England. Again, still waiting for Josh Jacobs. Is he going to get on a plane on his own? We'll find out at some point today. They'll probably rule him out or he'll make it to Nashville. So we'll see. Mark Andrews or Curtis Samuel. Yes, I was delaying. So I feel like I've talked about this on the radio. I feel like I'm a hammer and every nail is Curtis Samuel. I just want to smash it. But Mark Andrews is the wiser play. They have been scheming up Curtis Samuel nicely. And just on Curtis Samuel, let's just talk about this for a second here. This was the desired outcome when they brought him over from Carolina. Why do we know that? Because the same coaching staff that's in Washington now was in Carolina and used him in similar ways when he was with the Panthers. So this is why they brought him here. Injuries kept this from coming to fruition last year. But we can see what the plan is. And so, if you're trusting in the scheme, and this week, Terry McLaurin facing Darius Slay almost certainly, shadows almost every game and with great effect. So McLaurin's kind of been struggling as is. I think he's got like a 50% catch rate. So big revenge game for Carson Wentz if you're into that narrative. I'm still playing Mark Andrews, but I get it. For me, I'm all Andrews all the time, Julie. So take that into account. But also throw in that I have been like really pro Curtis Samuel, probably higher on Curtis Samuel than I should be. But it's more about scheme and usage. It's been really nice for Curtis Samuel. All right, let's see. I lost my place. That's not good because there's a lot of questions. Hi, Dame Overboard. Iron Eddie, half-point PPR need 1. 2 if Kamara sits. Elijah Moore, Jacoby Myers, Cole Hardman, Dotson, Ramondre, and ETN. Oy. So Jacoby Myers is questionable. I think he's going to play, but you'll have to wait and see on that. Probably Hardman's out. I'm probably playing more in ETN if you need to, but probably more at the top of that heap for me. Or help me by narrowing these down if you can at all, people. A lot of choices take me a long time to process, and I can't answer everyone's questions. More Myers, Hardman, Dotson, Ramondre, and ETN. So I probably like them ETN, Ramondre, Moore, Dotson, Myers, just because he's questionable. I don't have a lot of faith in Hardman, or the Chiefs receivers. It's going to be, I think, you need to trust Patrick Mahomes on this one, right? And he said, you're not going to go week to week. And maybe at some point we'll get a little more clarity on this. I'm hoping so. So we'll look for that. Hello, Scott Kobe. Hello, Pedro. Hope you're feeling better today, Pedro. Hello, have Herbert drop to Winston for Mariota just in case Herbert can't play? I think that's a reasonable assessment. I'm trying to make sure I've got my ducks in a row. A lot of like the 2 quarterback leagues I'm in, and I landed Chase Daniels very late just on the off chance because I invested heavily in Herbert. So I don't know how I feel about Herbert. The fact that he did not practice Friday is a bit of a concern, right? And we'll see if Keenan Allen plays as well. That kind of adds to it a little bit. But my expectation was until yesterday that it would be, he threw really well on Thursday based on the people who were there watching watching in the media to the open portion. Went through a full warm up, did all the passes he normally does. Everything looked fine. He didn't seem to be in great discomfort, but we'll see. The reminder is that the same doctor who gave Herbert his starting job by injecting Tyrod Taylor poorly is the guy who will be giving the injections. You might want to think about that for a second. Okay, still more on Rodney Stanley being downgraded. All right, so I'm concerned about that, and I have the same decision, Pedro, a Winston or Mariota in my Scott Fishbowl league, and so I'm holding off. I'm delaying the inevitable. I'm probably going to end up switching to Winston, assuming he is ready to go. So there's that. Always good to see Mr. Scampers, I'm telling you. Gets 12 teams, 70.75 PPR, 2 quarterback, wide receiver, my right receiver, Saquon. Do I trade London for A.J. Dillon? Yes, I would do that. Loaf, or L-O-A-F. I don't know which it is. Start one, Shepard, Noah Brown, or Olave. Well, I'm going to just go ahead and start Shepard. I mean, I think it's a kind of a decent floor play to me, right? That's what I'm looking for here. So Noah Brown, I think Michael Gallup's going to be back, and that maybe caps him a little bit. And Olave, I think, is a great big play threat, but I wish Jameis Winston could hit him. He was targeted 13 times last week. I want to say he caught, 5 of them? Big totals. I mean, a lot of air yards. My friend Dwayne McFarland over at Pro Football Focus and Fantasy Life put it out there. It was like 365 air yards. It was ridiculous. But only 43% catchable passes. So until Jameis dials it in, I'm going to lighten up. So, yeah, the Bills are – Scott asked what to make of the Tua and his weapons this week with all the Bills' injuries. And I make that this seems like a good opportunity for him, right? This is an unusual circumstance for the Buffalo Bills. And maybe they can cobble it together, right? But Sean McDermott announced on Friday safeties Micah Hyde, who I hear this morning is out for the season. You got Dane Jackson is out. Jordan Poyer, questionable with a foot injury. They're already down to Tre'Davious White. They've got 2 defensive tackles out, Jordan Phillips and Ed Oliver. So there are a lot of issues there for this defense to deal with. And so yeah, I'm probably going to go ahead and play with a little more confidence. I don't know if you were dialed back on those guys. I think in Tua's case, a lot of times you drafted him as your quarterback too, and you probably have some options, right? And you're probably making a weekly decision, and maybe heading into this week before we heard about the injuries, you're thinking, okay, I got a great game from Tua. Maybe I don't get another one going against the Buffalo's defense that's allowed 17 points to who? The Rams and Titans, 2 pretty good teams. Last year's Super Bowl champion and last year's #1 AFC seed. So they're playing good defense. That said, at some point attrition has to matter. So, and we want to get some of that excitement. We all know what Tua and Hill and Waddle put up some amazing numbers last week, and I don't think I would expect the same kind of totals, but I'm probably playing them a little more interested in playing them this week than I would have been otherwise, for sure. Anthony Craig, I'm down to 3 for my flex. Rashad Bateman, Curtis Samuel, or Tony Pollard. I think, to me, Bateman is probably the smart play. Curtis Samuel is the play I would make because I'm not smart. Did I mention I am a hammer and every nail is Curtis Samuel? Just smashing that thing. Boom, boom, boom. Like, I'm playing him until they make me stop, but Bateman's probably the smart choice. I like Tony Pollard as well. Just wonder if it's going to be a little more week to week on his workload. I do think that, with Bateman and Samuel, you feel a little confident in the role. I do like the way they're manufacturing touches for Samuel, right? I mean, that's kind of the key for me is they're really going out of their way to make sure he has the football. And I like guys who have the football. Bateman has been heavily targeted, so that seems to be a worry. I just want to go back and just double check some numbers on Samuel last week. How many carries did he have last week? He had 9 carries last week. Or 9 targets, 70. How many carries last week? Only 1 carry, but for 21 yards. But yeah, the most targeted asset in the passing attack in week 2. And week 1, he was right up there, I want to say. So had 11 targets. So yeah, top the list there too. So yeah, I'm probably playing Samuel here. Probably against my better judgment, Rashad Bateman seems like the smarter play. Curtis Samuel is my gut. Max Weber, if I can afford to keep him on my IR bench, do you see much value in Jameson Williams this year if he comes back around midseason? If you have room and you have an IR, I mean, you invested in him, we'll wait and see what happens. I have done this in a few places, so I don't have an issue with that at all. I don't think it's horrible. And I don't know what he's going to be, but if you believe the people who cover the incoming rookie classes more closely than I do, he's a unique talent. And so assuming he doesn't lose any speed, and any more guys that do ACLs don't seem to lose a lot of speed. So yeah, I'd probably hang on to him if I have an IR. Dame Overboard. Ravens. Everyone's very excited about Ronnie Stanley. I'm getting tons of notifications because Ronnie Stanley's rolled out. I'm waiting for Josh Jacobs, everybody, just like you are. Dave Overboard, Hines versus KC, Ramondre versus Baltimore, Gainwell versus Washington. That's fantastic, Dave. I appreciate that. I want to say Stevenson probably. I'm going to go Stevenson there. I think that's a reasonable expectation. I mean, Miles Sanders is playing pretty good right now, right? I know the first week, everybody got a touchdown. It seems like not so much. And the problem for me with Gainwell, just while I'm on it here, is Sanders seems to be getting the lion's share, and what was going to be, what you thought Gainwell was going to get seems to be getting chopped up more with Boston Scott than I expected. Oh, guess what? The Ravens downgraded Ronnie Stanley out. Wow, that's like the 8th notification I've got on that. Thank you, everybody. Yes, I have, Iron Eddie, checked out the new Megadeth album, and it is totally amazing. Even I'm amazed, and I'm not easily amazed at anything Dave Mustaine does. Fantastic work. Every damn song. Steve L. Half-point PPR, quarterback Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers. Boy. I'm probably playing Derek Carr in this one. I think we I don't want to say we were going overboard, right? But it's easy to go overboard on our worries about Rodgers and what he's going to be and can he get things done without receivers? Yes, he can still get things done. I'll remind you of something Jeff Vance told me on the SiriusXM pregame show 2 weeks ago. Great quarterbacks are what make great receivers. He hasn't made any of them great yet, but he certainly is getting by. That said, I don't like the matchup that much, and I do like it for Carr. And I suspect, after some lighter than anticipated usage for Devontae Adams, he's going to be a big part of this as well. Herbert or Winston? I have that very decision. Right now, I have Herbert in place. You're going to have to know because the kickoffs don't favor you, right? So, honestly, here's what I think. Here's how I'm going to approach it. I'm waiting to see and make sure Jameis is set to go. Right, in the early kickoff window. And then if he is, I'm probably going to play him. And if he's not, I'm going to probably wait it out and hope for the best. So check the website. It's footballdiehards.com. I usually have overnight, some of the national reporters, Schefter, Rappaport, etc., some of the local observers, and try and round up their thoughts in advance if they think players are going to play or not. And, it's not 100% foolproof, obviously. But it gives you a pretty good idea heading into the day what the expectation is of teams. There can always be setbacks. I would hate to go into the late afternoon window without a fallback plan if Justin Herbert is suddenly scratched. And I might be over-worrying this. I just thought it was odd that he didn't do anything at all, and Chase Daniels got all the reps. It might be perfectly fine. It might be nothing. They might just be saying, just in case something happens, we want to have Daniel a little better prepared, right, if Herbert takes a big hit in the game. I was really encouraged Thursday. I'm less encouraged now, so if Winston's playing, and look, I don't like Winston's matchup that much, right? I don't like him going against Carolina, so it's a concern. That's how I'm handling it. I'm probably going to go with Winston early unless I get some really positive reporting on Herbert. So check the website if you can, and if you can't, you should go subscribe to it. Use promo code Diehards. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's a button right over here. And you hit you'll get notifications if you're a subscriber to the site, but get notifications if you subscribe to the channel. You can use the, hit the like button if you like this, and hit the dislike button if you cannot stand Bob Harris. That's me, Bob Harris. Kevin O'Brien. Steven, I got him. I missed that. Only have Pitts right now. Would you roster Hooper or Komet or keep a status quo for now? I would probably roster a second guy. I mean, I don't have high hopes for Komet, right? I mean, Hooper's a way down the line player. So, I'd like somebody a little more involved. The Bears keep threatening to throw the ball more. They threw it 11 times last week. That's not more. So I'm guessing they will course correct a little bit if at all possible this week. They would like to throw more. And if so, Kmet's going to be part of that. I mean, he and Mooney, but right now I think they're both unplayable. So Pitts is probably the player I'd still play over those guys. Kevin O'Brien has a dilemma today. Should. Yes. I'll look for the rest of this question down the list. Ron Dreher, enjoy your show. I am in a 16 team. Thank you, Ron. 16 team standard scoring league, 2.0 record. Sky Moore is a free agent. I have Nico Collins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Josh Palmer on my bench. Make a move or stash. I'm not huge on Sky Moore. Eric Bieniemy did talk this week and said, he's going to get more than the 2 snaps he got last week. I mean, Nico Collins is a starter. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a starter. Josh Palmer is the number 3 in a pretty good offense, right? So Sky Moore is the, I'm going to say 4.5 at best because Justin Watson seems to be right there with him, and maybe even you say Moore is number 5. I mean, I think that may vary from week to week, but also that's part of the problem with him is, again, I mentioned at the top of this program, maybe we need to believe Patrick Mahomes, who said you're not going to know week to week who the guy's going to be, and that volatility doesn't lend itself to good fantasy lineups, right? So I wouldn't let any of those guys go to get Sky Moore at this point. I mean, if you made me pick one, it would probably be Josh Palmer because he's not starting. But he's in a really good offense, so it's pretty tough. Everybody's going to start Zamir White, and then Bolden's going to get all the carries. Very possible, John Bonneville. I mean, right. I mean, this is not a situation where you're going to have great knowledge, but if you pick up Zamir White, at least if you're a Josh Jacobs guy, you at least have an iron in the fire. I mean, if you want to take your chance on Bolden, I'm fine with that as well. So, sure, go get Bolden too. Start sit Chase Edmonds or Melvin Gordon. I'm going to probably play Edmonds in this one. I think it seems to me Javonte Williams has come on a little more as the receiving asset in this backfield for Denver. And the matchup favors that, right, tonight, or Sunday night. So I kind of like Javonte Williams a little more in that one than maybe even normal, but I think he's kind of trending in a better direction. The Chase Edmonds thing, I'm not a huge Chase Edmonds guy, but I feel like this is going to be a bit of a little more of a shootout than we anticipate. And if it is, maybe a little more passing equity for the backfield, which, last week it was kind of interesting. I think we saw more of a split, right? We saw more of a split, a traditional, runner receiver split for the Miami backfield. And maybe we'll see that more going forward. So, but either way, I'm playing Edmonds this week. Let's see. I scrolled down too far. Okay, need to sit one. CEH, Gibson, or Garrett Wilson. I'm sitting Garrett Wilson until, last week was fantastic, right? I mean, I don't know that it's the norm just yet, right? So I'm probably playing the guys that I have a little more confidence in the volume right now. And if I see Wilson, if this becomes more of a trend than a one-off, then I'm going to be very excited. It will be interesting to see if this is something that happens with Zach Wilson or it's just a Joe Flacco dependent thing too. So maybe we get another big game from Wilson this week because Flacco's in there. Then next week, Zach Wilson comes back and do they have the same chemistry? And, so there's concerns there. But for this week, I'm going to stick with the running backs because I think they're both really solid plays anyway. Scott Kobe, if Josh Jacobs is out, what is your preference of running back and why isn't Brandon Bolden number 1? Okay, Brandon Bolden's number 1. Pedro, I mean, okay, I get it. People are out there, you can pick up whoever you want. I don't actually know. Right? So it seems to be the consensus in the room is Brandon Bolden. So go ahead and play Brandon Bolden. Pretty sure Dobbins won't be coming back till 5th week after waiting this long. Can't see Harbaugh letting him play against New England Buffalo defenses. They seem to be slow rolling this a fair amount. So, I'm not going to argue against it. He's been practicing fully the last 2 weeks. If you saw the comments, if you didn't see the comments, I have them in an article on the website right now. I'm kind of with you. The comment from Harbaugh says, you'll know it when you see it. Well, even if he was active tomorrow, right? Would you trust him as more than a flex level play? It would be hard, I think, just the way they are slow rolling this. So I do get, the New England, this week is New England, the next week is Buffalo. If both those defensive tackles are out again next week, maybe it's not as big a concern. But yeah, I think that, they're clearly slow rolling this. J.K. Dobbins wishes he was already back. Kevin O'Brien, my dilemma, should I wait on the Justin Herbert decision or play Goff? My fallback is Marcus Mariota. If I have a viable fallback, and I think Mariota is, I'd probably go ahead and play that. I'm fine playing Goff as well. I think Goff is a higher end play. But I think the Minnesota game is going to be a shootout. It's a 50-point game, 50 points, or the implied total there. So I'm not against it. I'm thinking about this a little bit. Almost thinking I might just go ahead and play Goff. I think I want to say on the site, Goff is right now the number 16 quarterback, and that might be a little bit low even. I mean, I might even want to play him ahead of Rodgers and Brady given the matchups. I think everyone else ahead of him is fair game. And so like ideally I wouldn't play him over Herbert, but so sometimes when you go into a game and maybe this is my issue with Bolden or why I have a blind spot to Bolden. By the way, I mean, like if you're down to the point where you have to take a guess at whoever the next Raiders running back is, you probably didn't build good depth. If you want it for daily purposes, yeah, I'm totally on board with that. But so grab the one of choice. But Bolden's coming off a hamstring injury. He's not on the injury report this week, so I suppose that, or he's on the injury report, but he didn't get a designation, so I suppose that's fine. But I think we get a little enthusiastic about these opportunities, and I'm not against being aggressive and saying, oh, I want to take advantage of this opportunity. But also, do you not have better options on your roster than the not starting running back for the Raiders? I mean, it's an okay matchup, so I get why, but I'm just not sure why the great enthusiasm. So like, I don't want to, just waffle totally on this Kevin O'Brien. I might go ahead and play Goff just because I think there's enough upside there. Amon-Ra St. Brown can drag him along. I would also wait until overnight to hear what I'm hearing more on Herbert. David K. Sitting Lazard, options, Landry, or Noah Brown. Yeah, I'm probably taking a chance with Lazard in this one. I mean, given all the other, attrition, and we don't know. Sammy Watkins, we know, is out. We don't know if Christian Watson is out or not. Yet he's questionable. Guessing Randall Cobb will play. It's just been an illness, but he didn't practice all week. Romeo Doubs is fine. So I'm probably playing Lazard over those other options. I mean, even in a tough matchup, I'd probably rather have Aaron Rodgers number one, de facto number one option. And I get it. I mean, he hasn't, distinguished himself. Nobody's distinguished themselves. But given the attrition over, Landry and Noah Brown, who may, move down a notch with Michael Gallup coming back. And we may not know that for sure until Monday night, but Michael Gallup is practicing fully. CeeDee Lamb talked about it last night, how excited he is to have Gallup back. So I'm probably dialing back on Brown a little bit. Not to say, I mean, I'm holding on to Brown if I've grabbed him in leagues. Number one, you don't know how good this is going to go for Michael Gallup. And number two, maybe he has some value as a number three. Kevin Payne, my nephew, asked me this. I told him first two. Lamb, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. I'm tempted to play Samuel over DJ Moore. You look back to the games against New Orleans last year. I think he had one good game with a touchdown. He had one really lousy game. I'm probably going Lamb and Samuel. But again, I am totally Samuel focused this week, and it will probably be to my detriment. So think it through carefully. If you believe in Samuel, so, why do I believe in Samuel? I mean, again, it's the fact that they're scheming for him. It's the same reason, like, I kind of believe in Jahan Dotson, right? Week one, those touchdowns were schemed directly for him. He was the primary option on the two scoring plays, so they're working to get him. So I'm a little all in. Like, I'm a DJ Moore guy too. Maybe this is an anti-Baker Mayfield screed, and I'm going on here, and I don't even know it. I'm not really keen on Baker Mayfield so far, right? He gets a lot of passes batted down. Is this the week the Saints pass rush shows up? The Saints think so. I don't know for sure, but I just don't like the way this offense has been working. And so I'd rather have a piece of Curtis Samuel this week. But honestly, the smart money is, Kevin, I think you gave the smart money answer. The safe play answer. Steve, half-point PPR, running back choice. Dameon Pierce at home versus Chicago or Jeffrey Wilson at Denver. Kind of feel like Jeffrey Wilson is my running back version of Curtis Samuel. Look, the volume's going to be good for him. I think Jimmy Garoppolo being back works in his favor, right? You're not going to have the quarterback getting a ton of carries in this one. So I'm going to probably lean. It's a great matchup for Pierce, right? And so I'm fine with that. I do think, we're seeing a trend. Oh, Cole Beasley just added to the active roster. There we go, people. The Cole Beasley you've been waiting for. Go grab him if you want. I'm just kidding. We get excited over these moves. And again, I don't want to be dismissive of everyone saying Brandon Bolden. I mean, your guess is as good as mine on that. Your guess is better than mine on that, right? Because I said the stupid things, Zamir White. And you're right. It's probably Brandon Bolden. So take your chances there. Boy, that one's really close. I'm going to go Jeff Wilson just because I think it's a little better offense. But it's a pretty good matchup for Dameon Pierce. And I hope the trending in the right direction continues trending for Dameon Pierce. Lovie Smith talked about it all this week, so I think it's fair. I just want to double check the rankings on that. I think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play Wilson there. The rankings even agree with me. Lockett, Allen Robinson, or Lazard? I'm probably going Allen Robinson there. Thank you, Victor. John Bonneville. I have the same division going with Wilson, thinking he has more receiving upside. I think Pierce might have a better shot at TD. I think that's a fair assessment too. I think we don't want to overlook the Lovie Smith revenge game. No, we do want to overlook that. I think Wilson has a decent shot at a touchdown. Did he take it all the way down the goal line last week, John? And then Juszczyk stole it from him. The vulture came in. Remind me of that. I saw Juszczyk got the score. I thought Wilson took it down there. But, we've got less. We've got Jordan Mason, an undrafted free agent. Next man up. They promoted Marlon Mack this week. So I think this is going to be, I don't think Wilson's going to be sharing much. When we saw Terry Davis-Price get like a series last week, got an entire series and had a fair number of carries before he was hurt. I think this week it all goes to Wilson. Scott Kobe, the Cats are fine. Yes, hit the like button if you'd like. Hit the dislike button if you'd like as well. I don't discriminate. I'm fine being disliked. The Cats aren't, though. The Cats like to be liked, and they appreciate your fine questions. Mr. Scampers, half-point PPR, Juju at Indy, or one of Mark Ingram, Zamir White, if the lead sits. So I'm not enthusiastic about Juju. So if we find out that, for some reason Kamara's a scratch, easy call on Ingram for me. I thought he ran with a lot of energy. I thought he looked pretty good last week. In general, there were obviously some bad moments. But yeah, I would do it like that. Ingram if he plays, probably Juju if not, because nobody really knows what's going to go on with the Raiders backfield if there is no Josh Jacobs, and there might not be a Josh Jacobs. If you're just tuning in, he didn't make the trip. They say he was listed as questionable, so he might fly today, but I'm guessing by sometime later this afternoon, we'll get either a downgrade or we'll have some more clarity on that, on Jacobs. I don't think we'll have any clarity beyond that. We're sitting here talking about Zamir White and Brandon Bolden, and that almost guarantees Amir Abdullah is the guy, right? And that's the problem. Too many cooks in the kitchen, right? It hasn't been Amir Abdullah. I get it, But the point remains, we're all kind of taking educated guesses here. And I'm not against the Bolden guess. I'm not against the Zamir White guess. I think they're all pretty reasonable. Bob, in a predicament. I can even speak sometimes, Armando Vargas asks. I went all in with Russ Wilson debating if I should switch to Tua, Cousins, Wentz, Carr, Goff. Yes. This week, why not? Right? I mean, this San Francisco's no joke. I think it's interesting. I'm going to have an article up on it later. Russell Wilson has not been running much this year. Also, it turns out the coach is not great so far. He doesn't always handle all the situations right. Look, I could dial back on Russ. I think he'll be fine over the course of the season, right? It's very early. Someone reminded me last night that, Peyton Manning's first 4 games were horrible, right? So we still have Russell Wilson in the top 10 on the rankings, but I think all of those guys, Cousins in particular, I'd definitely play Cousins over him. I would definitely play Cousins. I think Cousins is in a great spot. Carr, I would play over him. I think that's a pretty safe play. The other ones are maybe taking Tua. It's a great opportunity with all the with all the defenders hurt. We talked about that already, so check that out if you want at the website. I have an article up on it. So yes, I would switch this week. Russell Wilson or Goff, QB1. Okay, I don't want to overstate the case. This is kind of a you decision. We have Wilson ranked 10, Goff ranked 16. I think Goff's going to be playing keep up an awful lot. I'm not, I would be overthinking this one, and I'd probably play Goff myself. Just go with my gut and play Goff. I think if you have these options, you can kind of afford. We always talk about this in September, right? And I'll talk about this for just a second. But play your studs. Well, who are your studs? I mean, so far, Jared Goff's been more of a stud than Russell Wilson, right? Just it's the truth. So, maybe you take it that count. Maybe you play someone until they make you not, or you sit someone until they make you not, right? You just take it like an NFL team. And so here's the problem for us as fantasy managers. We might miss out on a big game. I think we're all convinced the game we sit somebody, is the game that they're going to go off. Entirely possible, right? But so far, he's not going off. It hasn't been great. Pedro, I'm thinking of sitting Dawson as I believe he is being defended by Slay. Okay. Going with Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson has not been great against the New Orleans Saints, I want to say. Let me bring up the number here because I think it's interesting. So I guess Dawson might go up against Slay. The people who do this for a living that are smarter than me about this, people like Mike Clay, think that Slay is going to shadow Terry McLaurin. So, I mean, you're a little forward thinking on that, Pedro. So if that's how you feel, Anderson has run 165 routes over 5 years against the Saints. He has 39 fantasy points to show for them. Hasn't seen a red zone target against New Orleans since joining Carolina. So I think you're in the minority on the thinking there, Pedro, but maybe turns out with that. Bob, be careful with Winston. Not that I know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to hurt throwing with a broken back. I'm pretty sure he had the broken back last week, yet he was still throwing. Was it great? No. I mean, I get it. Maybe they rule him out. Maybe it's gotten worse this week. So just so you know, the broken back is not actually a broken back. It's 4 fractured bones. They're called the transverse process. They're tiny little bones that stick off the spine that ligaments attached to. It's very painful from what I've told. Many players have played through this over the course of time, though. So it's just a pain issue more than anything. Will T, full PPR Plex. Choosing between Jeff Wilson, Shepard, Pitts, Michael Carter, Jacoby Myers. I probably like them. Jeff Wilson. I would play Jeff Wilson easy over those others. Brad Stewart. Hi, Bob. Need one for flex and 1/2 PP point PPR. Bateman, Drake London, Allen Robinson. Thanks. I like Drake London an awful lot this week. I think it's a pretty good matchup for him again. As soon as Bateman is a smart play again, right? Bateman is the top of the pecking order here, along with Mark Andrews. It's Andrews, Bateman. I thought Bateman did great last week, right? Against pretty tough coverage. So I'm probably going to play him in the order you have him. I guess the question is, do I trust Drake London to continue putting up basically wide receiver 1 numbers? And Allen Robinson to continue being the third option in this offense because Tyler Higbee's ahead of him. And I think I am. So that's the order. Bateman, though, is the clear-cut answer for me. Lazard or Dotson, PPR, what am I thinking? Wendy, boy, I don't agree with Pedro, and I hope I'm right and he's not in this case because I think Dotson's a pretty good play this week. James Bradbury's there too, so it's not like they're bereft of corners either way. And maybe Samuel's the better play there. I'm probably playing Lazard in this one, but it's pretty damn close, Wendy. Let me just double check and see what the rankings say, how far off I am, how crazy I am to say this. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say Lazard here. It's very close. The fact that he's healthy now and he's the top option, and all the other options are down, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Lazard. Robert Ferrett, half-point PPR, different scoring system for wins and losses, so I'm now 0-4. Oh, my gosh. Start Rodgers or Mariota, who's a free agent. I'd probably still play Rodgers. I mean, I'm not against, taking chances, but I think that's a bridge too far for me. I know it's supposed to be a low-scoring game, right, for the Tampa Bay Green Bay game, which almost ensures it's a high-scoring game, right? Is it crazy to start Flacco over Brady this week? Plus, I'm starting one of the – and by the way, just to be clear, I'm starting Rodgers over Mariota. And I just want to say, based on some of these questions, I mean, you guys – and, I'm not dismissive of your opinions, but if you have your opinion, go with your opinion, right? You're asking me, you're telling me your opinions. We think this, but should I do this? No, you should play your opinion, right? You should play your feelings. This is your team. If you have a gut feeling – I mean, none of the things I've heard here are crazy, that I don't necessarily agree with. Is it possible Darius Slade shadows the number 2 receiver? I guess. I don't think so. He generally shadows the number 1 receiver. I know that Terry McLaurin hasn't been playing like that, but he is that. So, but if you think something that's not that, that's okay. I'm not right 100% of the time. So, and I'm also, I say this every week, I'm not there on Monday. And you're going to say, God damn it, I told Bob Harris I wanted to do this, and he told me not to, so I didn't. I'm not there to chew out. I mean, you can come back this week and chew me out, and I'm happy to take that. But, my goal here is to kind of talk it through and give you the information that's available and help you, either solidify or do something. So I'm not here to tell you that your hunches are wrong. So sometimes I see the questions, I feel like, wow, this person wants to do this. And who am I to say don't do this? Because you guys are all here because you're good fantasy players, right? So trust your instincts a little bit if you have them. So as I tell you to start Rodgers over Mariota, if your instinct tells you, man, Mariota, I kind of like this matchup against Seattle. I kind of think he's got good mobility. There's a lot to like about him. Aaron Rodgers going against a tough Tampa defense. I mean, I get all those, all those things. You're starting out at 0-4. There's a little desperation sitting in. So yes. I'm starting Rodgers. Don't know that you're crazy if you're starting Mariota. Well, you're kind of crazy, but not totally. Track works. Good day. Is it crazy to start flat? Crazy to start? No. So there we go. So for me, I probably would not do this. I just want to see how far, last week Flacco was great. Flacco. Do we see that? How often do we see that? I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I'm still playing Brady. Do I feel great about playing Brady? No, I have him ranked outside the top 12 this week. He's not a starting level quarterback for me this week, or, not ideal. Still well ahead of Mariota, though, for me. Who does have, or Flacco, I'm sorry, who's coming off a good game, but going up against Cincinnati, who maybe gets a little more pressure on him. I don't know. Aguilar or Mooney in the flex. Oh, so plus you're starting to just tight end. Tyler Conklin. I think Conklin's turned into a sneaky good play, right? So again, I'm not doing it. Is it crazy? It's borderline crazy because I don't know that we're getting last week's Joe Flacco, but Brady does have a tough matchup. Derek Bjork, and good morning, Timothy King. Thank you for saying that. Penny Aguilar or Mooney in the flex. I'm probably going to play Penny. Again, I talked about this a little earlier. Maybe you missed it. I kind of think the split last week was 6-4, I want to say. Let me double check that so I'm not telling you lies. I hate lying to you. Yeah, it was 6-4. So if I think they get maybe double the carries, they bump that 10 up to 20 and Penny had 12 and Walker had 8 or something in that range, I'd probably want to play Penny if that's how it played out. And that's kind of my expectation a little bit. So I'm going with that. Aguilar, I think, is going to show up some weeks and not. Mooney, I don't think I can play until I see the Bears actually trust Justin Fields to throw the ball. Dame overboard. Half-point PPR. Brandon Cooks at Chicago. DJ Moore versus New Orleans or Garrett Wilson versus Cincinnati. I'm playing Brandon Cooks. Again, Garrett Wilson, if you feel like that momentum is a real thing, like that last week, and I'm not saying it's, I'm not judging it. For me, I'd like to see a little more, right? They have various assets. Now, Corey Wilson's a little nicked up, so maybe that makes the decision a little easier for you. To me, Brandon Cooks is still, an overlooked, undervalued commodity. I'm playing him consistently productive over the course of time. I'll go with that proven track record there. I have him ranked as a solid wide receiver 2, and I cannot say the same for Garrett Wilson right now. I think I have him more in the wide receiver 3 range, and I think that's fair. I think he's a fine play as a wide receiver 3, and hope that you get another great game. And DJ Moore, I talked about it when I answered Pedro's question. About. Well, I think it was earlier. I was talking about that. Last year, it was like one good, one bad. But it's a different situation this year, different quarterbacks, and I'm not sure I trust Baker Mayfield that much. So I do like DJ Moore as a player an awful lot. I think he's very good. I don't know that his quarterback is doing him any favors. Winner mute. PPR, Curtis Samuel versus Philadelphia, Brandon Ayuk at Denver. Nervous about Wentz as his old team and think Pat Surtain may be out for Denver. So Surtain is listed as questionable. So, it sounded like he's trending in a decent direction, or, him and Jerry Jeudy both got on the practice field yesterday, and I didn't have a lot of hope for either of them until that. So either way, if you're nervous about Wentz versus his old team, I think Ayuk's a viable play. And I do think I'm way more all in on Curtis Samuel than probably I should be. Do you ever get that feeling where you feel so comfortable or confident with the pick that it makes you uncomfortable and less confident? I feel like that about Samuel. And in case you missed it, I just think this is a scheme issue. This is their desired role for him. I think it's going to be a limiting factor for J.D. McKissick over the course of the season if Curtis Samuel stays healthy. And I do think the coverages, whether Slay is on Dotson or McLaurin or whatever, he's probably not going to be on Curtis Samuel because they're moving him all over the place. So I'm probably playing Samuel, but if you are nervous, I think Brandon Ayuk's a fine pivot. Melvin Gordon or Rex Burkhead this week. I'm going Melvin Gordon this week. I don't know how I'm waiting. It seems like the momentum is working in Dameon Pierce's favor, and the comments by Lovie Smith this week tended to kind of cement that for me, and I'm hoping that's the case. I think there's always going to be the threat of Rex Burkhead showing up at any given week, but I think Melvin Gordon's role is a little more built in. Champ 21, pick one. Mike Williams with no Herbert, Juju, or I'm probably play Darrell Henderson. And I'll just talk about that Rams backfield. We saw the more even split last week. Henderson was very productive. But, it seemed like the week 1 was maybe a message game for Cam Akers because we heard Sean McVay say afterwards, run with more urgency. So he seemed to run with a little more urgency. I don't know if that was great or not. So I don't, but it seems like this is coming into more of a split. But Mike Williams, so I think you can wait though on this. So if Justin Herbert's playing, I'd probably play Mike Williams. And if not, I'd probably play Darrell Henderson because it is a late afternoon kickoff for both of them. So I'd do that. Pedro, Bob, something to think about. I chose Mariota over Wilson because his game starts at 4:25 and Herbert's 4:05. That's fair. Yeah. So I think that's why. I mean, that's why. I mean, Wilson doesn't play until night though. So Russell Wilson is Sunday night game. Ronnie Stanley is out. Is there a young rookie wide receiver that you would trade Evans for? Mike Evans in Dynasty, Timothy King? No. As things stand right now, just, barring, is it a Dynasty situation or something like that? Just in a redraft for this season, there is not one right now. Mike Evans will not play this week, everybody. What do you like better as bench stash, Olave or Burks? So this is tricky, right, Pat V? An interesting question. Probably right now, Burks. So I think he's the most targeted receiver in Tennessee. I don't know that that's going to change. And I've, not been all in on Burks all along. I do like Olave's usage last week, all the deep balls, but be better if maybe that's what how the back issue is manifesting itself for Jameis Winston. And Pedro and I were talking about that. He's got the 4 fractures in his back and he's playing through it. Maybe it is he was not very accurate on those deep balls to Olave last week, but he threw 13 of them. I like that, but I think overall I'm going Burks here. Pedro Mostert, I picked him up on the free agent. I think I got a steal. Definitely did. For the rest of the year, can you see him taking a number 1 job over Edmonds? I think it's still going to be a split. He does have a relationship with Mike McDaniels going back to their time together in San Francisco. And but it seemed to me last week that we saw signs of a traditional runner receiving back kind of situation. So I think it's going to be a limiting factor for him, but Mostert's been very effective in the scheme. So picking him up as a free agent, I think, is a fine move. Steve L, PPR, half point PPR, long term. I have Allen Robinson. Do I try to pick up Amari Cooper for the foreseeable future? Yes. My Chubb hurts for Taylor Swift. Thank you, sir. My Chubb hurts for Taylor Swift. Very good. If that's an actual trade, it would depend on who my other quarterback is. I'm be reluctant to give up. It seems like that seems like a fair trade. And I'm hoping that the way you ordered them was totally on purpose. I'm sure it was. DFS, DK, Hines or Pierce, both 5K. Probably play Pierce. Jaden Elite Ash, should I start Baker Mayfield over Tom Brady this week? I would not. John Bonneville, yeah, I just think Pierce has a better shot at goal line carries because he's not in a committee. That's true. Yeah, we don't know what Marlon Mack's going to be. I'm not going to overestimate. So I keep going back to something, and Emo and I have joked about this a lot. I kind of made a lot of flyer late round investments in Marlon Mack based on the fact that he's going to Houston. They don't have anybody. I talked to John McClain, who has written for the Houston Chronicle, just retired, had written for 30 years, but he still does radio work. I had him on my show, and he's a very colorful character, right? And so I was running that by him. Well, Marlon Mack, maybe early in the season, Marlon Mack sucks. Been watching him in the field. He doesn't have nothing. And so sure enough, there goes Marlon Mack by the wayside. So I don't know that McClain was not overstating his case. I don't know that Marlon Mack actually sucks or has nothing, but that sticks in the back of my mind, John. Cam, pick one for this week. And just by saying that, Marlon Mack is going to have a huge game. Pick one for this week. Edmonds, Ramondre Stevenson, or Brandon Bolden if Josh Jacobs is out. So I'm probably going to go ahead. I feel pretty comfortable playing Edmonds this week just because I think it's going to maybe be a little bit of a high-scoring affair with the injuries in Buffalo, and that also it's going to be kind of a game script situation maybe where the Miami Dolphins are chasing that Buffalo offense a little bit. If you believe that, I think Edmonds is the guy. Ramondre Stevenson just, it hasn't quite come together yet. He does seem to have the receiving, role with Ty Montgomery out, so there is something there. I think, again, on Bolden, we've, been discussing this throughout, and I think the room is pretty mixed. Put in a vote, everybody. Bolden, White, or the outlier, the dark horse, Amir Abdullah. So I don't think it's unreasonable to expect to think all those players would see some time, right? And I think everyone's in on Bolden because he's familiar with the offense. He came over from New England. And so all of those things in the week one, he was very busy before he sat out last week with the hamstring. So I'd probably play either of the other ones ahead of Bolden, not being sure what's going to happen and not knowing if Josh Jacobs is going to make the trip. I might think differently when I actually am facing the reality of Josh Jacobs having made the trip. I traded Amari Cooper and Kareem Hunt for Thielen and Kamara, sold high on Cooper and Hunt as they played terrible teams to start the year. Saints also have, that's a good move, Tyson. I like that. 20-team PPR, is that good or bad? I think that, selling high on anybody is a good thing, and I think you got a pretty good return. And I do think Kamara will be fine down the stretch, and I'm kind of keen on Adam Thielen because I like old dudes, because I'm an old dude. I'm Bob Harris, senior editor of FootballDiehards.com. If you're just tuning in, I do this every Saturday at noon. We throw out some ideas. We talk it through. I give you back some feedback on what your questions are. And yes, I do read into your questions sometimes, what your desired outcome is. Like, that matters to me, but right? I mean, if you're sitting here just asking questions straight up saying, this guy or this guy, I'm going to, say the guy I like. And, but when you frame it up so I kind of know which way you're leaning, I mean, I'm reluctant to talk you out of things unless it's totally off the wall, right? So I try to give you my fair opinion, but also, try to understand what your point of view is already, because I think your point of view matters. And also, that is good. I already have JT, so I'm playing Kamara for upside. I think that's great, man. I don't know if Cooper will slow down, but I think he's okay, right? I think he's okay. I think it looks pretty good. I think we all, here's what happens when we get into these situations, right? Where we think the outcome we had hoped for doesn't happen. We're really disappointed. It happens in drafts, right? When you're where you get sniped, the guy right next to you, and then you're trying to decide, and you maybe make a bad decision because, the thing you wanted gets yanked out from under you right at the last second. So we kind of make some snap decisions that maybe aren't great. I think we do the same thing sometimes in these cases where we think Cooper, oh God, there is no Deshaun Watson. What are we going to do? Well, there's still going to be a quarterback, everybody, and he's got some experience that he can play. So I think Cooper will slow down, but it's entirely possible that we're seeing the start of a pretty good run here. Part of that is they seem to have dialed in the usage of him, right? That they're not throwing the deep ball. They've kind of got the Donovan Peoples-Jones reserved for the deep ball, and they're running Cooper on routes that better suit Jacoby Brissett's arm, although not on every single play. Kevin Payne likes Curtis Samuel this week too. Mine was the safe money answer for sure. Yeah, it definitely was. I thought your play was a safe play too, Kevin. So I think that's where you're at. George Del Prete, hey, need one receiver and flex. DJ Moore, Gabe Davis, full go. Drake London, Damian Harris, leaning Davis in London, and sitting Davis due to linger. Sitting, I think you're leaning Harris and London and sitting Davis. And DJ, you know why? Yes, I know why on DJ. His name is Baker Mayfield. I don't trust Baker Mayfield yet. I need to see him do better. I need to see that coaching staff do better. Maybe I'm pitting this on Baker Mayfield when I'm really just mad at the coaches who don't seem to do a very good job. You've heard all the kerfluffle. I'm sure Dan Orlovsky pointed out some tells and the way they're lining things up. Matt Rule totally disagrees with that, and I'd probably have to go back and watch all the film. I'm going to have an article coming up on this later tonight, so check it out. But interesting thing there. Anyway, I think you mean Harris and London, because if you're leaning Davis and sitting Davis, are there two Davises in there? I'm missing it. Yeah, I would probably. I'm with you. I think Gabe Davis is going to be fine. He says he's 100% optimistic he'll play. I'd like a piece of that offense. Maybe the piece that's not seeing Xavier Howard every down would be nice, and Gabe Davis. So, but I think that's a pretty good approach you've signed up for there, assuming you meant Harris and London. I like London a lot this week. Mike Levine, PPR, Patterson, Henderson, Mostert. Lord help me, I'm all in on Patterson this week. I think the Seahawk matchup works in his favor. Tyler Algier got the 10 carries last week, right? So I think that is a concern. Yeah, I'm going Patterson. I still kind of like Henderson. I think this is a high-scoring game. I like Mostert too, but I think the game script's going to go with him. I know, John. I saw, I kind of get that. I've heard a lot of this. I've been hearing it for 2 days now, so I get it. But I think that is. I don't know anybody there is like the certain play, and I think that's the point, right? So I think a lot of people are out there thinking it's going to be Zamir White because he's more of an early down kind of back compared to Bolden being more of the receiving back. We just don't know, right? That's the truth. Lazard and Godwin for the rest of the season. Godwin for me, I think he'll be back soon. I like Lazard, don't get me wrong, but I think Godwin, might be a top guy. Need two receivers out of Bateman, Ayuk, Olave, or Dotson. Bateman, I'm probably going to go Dotson here. Ayuk's very close. Love Olave, what he's doing, but down the range for me. Wendy Early, thank you all for taking the time to answer all these questions. Thank you for taking the time to ask me these questions, you guys. I mean, I love this feedback. I love working through all these issues. It's very helpful for me as I'm writing articles, what you're interested in, as I'm talking on the radio, and it helps me kind of clarify my thinking. So I appreciate it. I mean, we sit here and, sometimes you get questions that make you think, wow, I got to think this through a little better. Yeah, I get a pair. So let me get to Edgar. Marquise Brown or DK? I'm probably playing Marquise Brown in this one. I do like the routes they're running DK for, but I don't think they're big play routes, right? He's not running all the goes and things. I've got an article going up on that later today. You should check it out. It's interesting. Seth Walder from ESPN talked a little bit about how they've adjusted the routes, the analytics guy there. It's pretty interesting. Bob, I want to play my opinion. However, I don't have a conclusion yet. So yeah. So, I mean, honestly, we don't know how it is. I love Dotson as well, mostly because they're scheming scoring plays. They're scheming for him in the red zone, right? That's a plus. Thank you, Steve L. I appreciate that. Hit the dislike button too. You're okay with that. Like, dislike, I don't care. Hit the subscribe button though. It's over here underneath me. And if you want to like me, like me. If you want to dislike me, dislike me. I'm very dislikable. Or I can be. Trust me. Dortch or Melvin Gordon in the Plex. I'm probably playing Gordon here. I don't want to outsmart myself. I do like what Dortch is doing, and there is no Rondale Morgan this week. Maybe Andy Isabella gets in the mix. I don't know. Don't know if that changes the balance of power at all. I'm probably going to go Melvin Gordon, slight lean here, but it's very close. I wonder what the rankings say. How far apart? The rankings have Gordon well ahead, which worries me. There, yeah, it's Gordon. Darnell Mooney or Richie James in PPR. I can't believe we are here with Darnell Mooney. It is a hard decision, right? I mean, do you want it? So this is one of the things where the investment is we want to keep playing Mooney until we get something back on our, get that return on our investment. Because Darnell Mooney is a good player. They're just not throwing the ball a lot. Do you think after a last week where they only passed 11 times, this is kind of a get right week where they try and say, okay, we've got to get this right? I think it probably is. I'm probably giving Mooney another shot, but I wouldn't talk you out of James, Scott. I mean, you know exactly what's going on here. Stephen Pavey, I drafted ETN, James Cook, Ramondre, and Khalil Herbert, who has the most upside the rest of the season, or the most trade value. It would probably be the most trade value is going to be ETN if he has a big game, or Ramondre if he has a big game. I'd be playing ETN still right now. Brady or Goff, 6-point TDs. Andrea, hi. I would probably play Goff in this one, but the history and the rankings say Brady. I'm probably taking a chance on Goff in a 6-point TD league. I feel like more I'm taking a chance on Amon-Ra St. Brown, right, and DeAndre Swift. Keenan Allen or London. I'd probably play London just because he's going in the game healthy either way, and I'm playing Kamara if he's active, and hoping for the best. Jeff Wilson is a good fallback if you're not feeling comfortable with the unhealthy yet. Jesse, A.J. Dillon, ETN, or D. Pierce. I'm probably playing Dillon. It's a super tough matchup. I think Dameon Pierce is a viable play there as well. I'm going to go a little faster here because I'm running out of time. Ron Dreyer, half-point PPR flex. Need Josh Palmer, Sterling Shepard, Robert Woods, Irv Smith. Would probably play Sterling Shepard at the top of that list. Irv Smith would probably be next for me. Pedro, my draft by the end of the 8th round, all the legit wide receivers are gone. I pivoted and drafted Dawson and Pickens. Thoughts on Pickens once Pickett takes over the quarterback job? I think Pickens is going to be fine either way. But I think Dawson is already fine, and his role is cemented. Andrea, DJ Moore or Cortland Sutton? Cortland Sutton for me there. Will T, full PPR, wide receiver 3 between Treylon Burks and Shepard. Shepard, if you want to have the floor, I think is a solid play. If it's more of a swing for the fence kind of situation for you, don't be afraid to go with Treylon Burks. ETN or Stevenson? I'm playing ETN. Don't feel great about it, Jesse. Steve L. Am I crazy to play Keenan Allen and Mike Williams with Allen Robinson on the bench? I would play Robinson over one of them, and it would probably be Keenan Allen. Champ, I did not see the question, Champ, so I thought I did not skip over any, but it's possible. Right? It's crazy, my overconfidence. Pierce, Lamb, Wilson, flex, half point. Probably taking Wilson slight lean over Pierce, like Lamb too. We've had this conversation, though, throughout the day, thinking Pierce might be better at the goal line and thinking there might be players who usurp Wilson's role. Last week, it was use check at the goal line, right? So I get that as well. Who's the better bench stash, Kenny Walker or Wan'Dale Robinson? Kenny Walker. I need to get the one and done on Friday nights on Sirius. Seems like a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Love it. We send to whoever calls in gets a link to the document we use, the Google Sheet, and then makes it a little easier. Robert Ferrick, running backs are CMC, Jones, Edmund, and Herbert. Jones. Pretty common name, Jones. It's not clicking for me. Let me try and figure it out. Aaron Jones. Okay. Pittman, Ayuk, Shepard, Collins, Osborne, C. Davis. Trade off for Melvin Gordon and Hurts and Jones for Ayuk. I can't. I need to spend a minute to think about that one, Robert. Honestly, it's not not a 12. It's not an hour into the show question. I honestly, I wouldn't trust Edmonds and Herbert, so I'm probably not doing that. I think Njoku is for real. He's available on the waiver wire. How much do you think would be a good fab amount to spend? A $100 budget, of which I have 52 left. I would spend probably, I might go half of that. I agree with that. Bolden, a vote for Bolden. I think that's a fair, look, again, we don't know. A vote for White. We're talking about the Bolden, White. Who else? Lord knows. It'll be Britain instead. I don't know. Devin Singletary, Noah Brown, Hardman, Josh Palmer, J.K. Dobbins in the flex. None of them are very inspiring. I'd probably go Singletary. I might go Dobbins as the flex if he's active, right? But I don't have high hopes for him. We talked about it earlier, what the workload might be. It's not very confident. Best two of these three running backs: Wilson, Jeff Wilson, Damian Pierce, Michael Carter, Rashad Penny. I probably like them in the order you have them right now. Defense this week. I'd probably say play Cincy against New York. Offered Kamara and Keenan Allen for Devontae Adams. You have the firepower to do that. Yeah, I'd probably do that. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Hi, Bob. I came late. Would you start Goff over Herbert? I might do that, right? Unless I get some really good information that Herbert is playing in advance of the early kickoffs, right? If I have something rock solid, but even then, he's not totally healthy going into the game. What if he took a big hit? I think Goff is a viable option if you're uncomfortable with Herbert. Williams and Samuel for Debo. Mike Williams and Curtis Samuel for Debo? Probably not. If it's the other guys, I don't know. What can I do to upgrade my team? That's a tough question, Hustle. One flex position out of those. If I'm playing a flex out of that group, I might this week go with You need to narrow it down. I'm sorry, Hustle. Lawrence or Mariota? I'd probably play Lawrence this week. What are your thoughts on Richie James against Dallas? Coaches seem to like Richie James more than the rest of us, except for my friend Matt Waldman, who loves Richie James and thinks he's every bit as talented as the coaching staff for the New York Giants does, because they're playing him over Kadarius Toney. They're playing him over Kenny Golladay. They're playing over a lot of guys. So the coaching staff clearly has some belief in him. Play Hawkinson or pick up and play Higbee? I would play Higbee. And would you drop Claypool, Dubs, or Algier? Probably Claypool. Yes, John always a very, very thoughtful commenter here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pedro. Aaron, yeah, I figured it out. Umberto, Rashad Bateman or Curtis Samuel, flex, full point PPR. The smart money says Bateman. The stupid money in my pocket would probably want to play. I want to play Samuel everywhere I can. Bateman is a good play this week. Umberto, if that's your leaning, go ahead and go with that. It's never Levine. It's Levine. Thank you, Mike. Henderson, DJ Moore, Everett Moore. So I'd probably play Henderson there if I knew for sure. And I'm guessing it's Elijah Moore there and not DJ. So I would love to play Gerald Everett every week when Herbert's playing, but we're not there yet. Should I trade CEH for Breece Hall and Pollard? If not, what should I do? You should play CEH right now because they're scheming him up nicely. So I would do that. Breece Hall is a tough play, right? I mean, I think at some point he's going to be fine. I just don't know when that point's going to be. Last week it was like a three-way split, right? Need a little more clarity there before I get rid of CEH, who is the tip of the backfield, right? He just hasn't had the volume, and I wonder if that's because they're having blowouts or what. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Scampers. Breece Hall or A.J. Dillon. I'm playing Dillon this week. I know it's a tough matchup, and I might be overly invested in this. I'm just waiting to see what the Hall role is going to shake out to be here. I mentioned it in the last question, but last week, week one, he had a really good receiving role. Last week, Ty Johnson came in and got the receiving role. So there you go. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Scott. Hustle Williams will still start without Herbert. If not, should I start Devontae Smith, Juju Shepard, or Curtis Samuel? You know the answer to that. It's always Curtis Samuel. All right, guys, I'm going to have to cut this off. I've already 10 minutes over my allotted time. So if you could stop the questions, I'll try to answer the rest of them here and then get out of here. I would probably still start Williams over these guys. I mean, he's still the de facto wide receiver 1, or at least a 1A, 1B situation. So I'd probably still go with him and assume Chase Daniels can get a little something done. He hasn't made $50 billion for nothing. Let's see. Need a flex. J-Rob, Lazard, Gage, Thielen, Carter. Boy, I love Adam Thielen a lot. J-Rob is probably the smarter play. I like Thielen a lot, though. Henderson, Mooney, Lazard, or Lockett. I'm going Henderson. If Samuel, who would be next up to start in the flex, I'd have to go back, and it's hard for me to do that. Devontae Smith. I think we're not giving enough credit to Devontae Smith, who finally came on last week. Thank you, Dame. Thanks, Pat. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Mike Levine. Thanks, Wintermute. Damian Harris, Naheem Hines, or Jahan Dotson. I'm probably playing Damian Harris there and hoping for the best. Jahan Dotson's the outside play. One last question here. Kayla, Gibson, Patterson, Cook, or Garrett Wilson? I'm playing probably Patterson of this group. Cook. Brandon Cooks, or Dalvin Cook. Don't know. All right, everybody, I'm going to call it a day. I'll see you on the radio tonight, 8 to 11 on Eastern Time on SiriusXM NFL Radio and Fantasy Sports Radio. I'll be back Sunday morning for the pregame show. Tune into the Football Diehards channel tonight for the DFS show with Eric Romoff, and also I think Evil Catholic will be on as well. And then, of course, all the news and information right up to kickoff tomorrow at the footballdiehards.com website. We'll have all the inactive announcements that are pertinent to your interest. Thank you very much.